Hey, I want to welcome everybody to the Confident Retirement Podcast. I am here, as always, your host, Chris Flaming from LPF Advisors. And we are trying something new. We're on a new expedition. We're on a new trajectory. We're going to do some 5-minute stuff, maybe a little bit more than 5 minutes, maybe less. But we're going to break down maybe some complex financial concepts for people, easy to understand tips and explanations that you can apply in your daily life. And I have here with me one of our other advisors, Collin. I'll get to him in just a second, but I have to do the obligatory disclaimer here. So I'll do this as fast as I can. The information we're going over is our opinion and not necessarily that of our firm or the platform. We are just providing general education information, not any customized investment recommendations. Nothing that we say should be construed as financial, tax, or legal advice. You should consult with your other professionals on your specific situation. Yeah, got it. It only took me 2 breaths. So Collin, what are we going through today? What are we going to talk about?
Jay, we're going to talk a little bit about budgeting. It's the
Okay.
end of summer. Everybody just got done spending a bunch of money on their kids and going out and doing activities. So it's
Yes.
probably not a bad time to revisit our budgets.
And everybody loves the word budget and budgeting. So how we approach this with clients is it's not something that we want to hold over your head and go through with a fine-tooth comb, everything that you're spending money on. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing this? We're really just talking about getting a way to approach it on how to get a good idea of your core expenses, because without knowing that, it's hard to then be in pursuit of your financial goals. So we'll dive into some basics. It's a critical skill, we think, for achieving financial stability and a peace of mind going into retirement and also preparing for that. So let's get started what's the most fundamental question when we were brainstorming about this? What is a budget, actually?
A budget in my house is a 4-letter word, so I usually keep my mouth shut about it. But at its core, a budget is a plan for your money. And it's a way to track how much money you have coming in and how much is going out. So think of it as a roadmap for your finances and helping you navigate through expenses, savings, and investments to reach those financial goals.
Okay, so when you say it like that, it doesn't seem so, what's the word I want to use? It doesn't seem so
Don't.
domineering,
Yeah.
intimidating. And it's important in many stages in life. We mentioned that at the beginning and also in retirement. So how do you create a budget? It can sound daunting. People don't like the word. It's simpler than most people think. There's 3 basic steps. We'll go over there. So the first one is assessing your income, tracking your expenses. The third one is setting financial goals after that. So why don't you start with assessing your income? That's step 1. How do we do that?
Yeah. So the first thing we need to do is know exactly how much money we have coming in and knowing, that this includes salary, any side businesses, freelance work, or passive income from investments, rental properties, anything like that. If you're in sales and your income fluctuates, you can consider taking an average of your earnings over the last few months to get a clearer picture of what that number looks like.
Okay. And we want to make a note here that when you're thinking about what you have to work with, you want to use your net income. Net just means what is it that's going into your checking account that you can use after everything's been deducted, the taxes, your 401k deposits, what they take out for your health insurance. That's that net number, what you have to work with after those deductions to do the things that you want to do. Okay, so assessing income, getting an idea of that. Step 2 then is tracking your expenses. So what does that mean?
This is the one that's not so fun. So now that we know how much we're making, it's time to look at where our money is going. And often a lot of us don't know where our expenses or where our dollars are going. So we need to start by listing out all of our monthly expenses, and then we can divide these into 2 categories. Now, one will be fixed expenses. So these are the bills that are the same every month, like rent, mortgage, payments, utilities, and insurance costs. Number 2 is going to be those variable expenses. So the ones that derail budgets. And these are the ones that fluctuate month to month, like groceries, entertainment, dining, or shopping. Christmas, that's always a big one. People forget Christmas is around the corner. But those are the expenses that we don't necessarily plan for. They just sneak up and we start spending on going out and dining, going out and doing activities with our kids. And we can't forget occasional expenses like annual subscriptions, vacations, and the more detailed we are, the more effective our budget will be.
Okay. And I think a lot of people get this in their mind that once they made a decision to take on that expense, now it's in the fixed category. But I just want to point that out. If you decided to do it and you didn't have to do it like a mortgage or rent or your utilities, if you decided to take it on and you don't quote unquote need it, then it is a variable expense. So then those things could also be eliminated if you chose to do so after you decide what's important to you. There's a lot of different sites that people can go to, apps for tracking their budget and their expenses. And you can email us or reach out. We can send those to you or help you with that. And we can also talk about what's variable and what's fixed and help you discern that. If you do have some things that happen quarterly or semi-annual or once a year, if you're trying to create a budget and you want to do it monthly, you would simply take those expenses, annualize them, and then divide by 12 to get a monthly number. It's also good exercise. Just use a ledger, piece of paper, write stuff down. A lot of us don't track our expenses. We just think as long as I have more money going into my account than's coming out, everything's fine. But when we go through those, we can find some opportunities, some nuggets in there. We can maybe make some changes. So now we've got a clear view of our income. We know what our expenses are. Now it's time to set some financial goals. And of course, these could be short-term, like paying off some loans or student loans or credit card debt. They could be long-term stuff like saving for a home or even for retirement. And we find working with people that goals give you a purpose, a bigger purpose, and help you prioritize your spending. So then you're more tuned into where your money's going. Okay. So when we get to talking about spending, let's put it all together, Collin. So we have this rule we've used with people. It's called the 50-30-20. We didn't make it up. It's been around a long time. It's a popular budgeting method that works for many people. So why don't you break that down for us?
Yeah. So the 50-30-20 rule is just a very basic way of saying, all right, 50% of my income goes to necessities like rent, mortgage, utilities, groceries. And then the 30% is for discretionary spending. So dining out, entertainment, hobbies, kids' camps. And then the 20% is going to go towards savings, debt repayments, any investment plans that you're making with either your advisor or on your own. And if you find that your expenses in one category are higher than recommended, you might need to make some adjustments. And for example, if your necessities are eating up more than 50% of your income, you could look at ways to reduce your housing costs or find better deals on bills. I know energy bills are definitely high right now, so possibly looking at other ways to afford that or reduce the costs, I should say.
Okay.
Or even looking at discretionary spending and trying to reduce in certain categories, but just taking a overall picture and saying, all right, how much of my income is going toward these fixed costs, variable costs, and savings.
Okay. And this is a guideline. It's something to aspire to or work towards. Some people they're in a lot of fixed expenses and it takes them a while to get more in balance and get closer to this. For younger people, it's really exciting because they could start with this right off the bat and be in a really good position for the future over a long run where they've got 20% going towards savings and they've got the rest of it going in these other two categories. Okay, so let's tie everything together. We want to try to keep this session relatively short. Is a budget, do you consider that like a one-time task? You just do it one time and then you're good forever? Or what do you say on that?
Well, if it's similar to my diet routine, then yes. But no, a budget isn't a one-time task. It's a living document, and we want to make sure that we review it and adjust it regularly. Personally, I like to do it monthly just to see where money is coming and going. And you also need to do this when your financial situation changes. Maybe you got a raise or your expenses have shifted in some way. Your budget should also evolve with you. And we also have to remember that budgeting isn't supposed to restrict us. It's about making informed decisions with your money. And it just gives you the control and confidence that you know where your money is going. And it helps you avoid making unnecessary mistakes and avoid stress and financial pitfalls down the road.
Okay, and we call those, like in our jargon or in our office, we call those blind spots. We want to be aware of those. And we want all of our resources being used in an efficient way towards the financial goals, things that are most important. So just to kind of wrap up, here's a quick recap. Steps for budgeting: assess your income. Step 2, track your expenses. Step 3, Step 3, then set financial goals with that using that 50-30-20 rule of thumb. And that's a great guideline to start. It's also good for people, that are further along or people that are close to retirement. All right. So that's all for today. We talked as fast as we could about budgeting. And that's our quick episode today for the Confident Retirement Podcast. We hope that you found the information helpful. And if you want to tune in to future little blurbs that we do on different financial topics, you can subscribe. Where's my finger? You can subscribe and leave us a review, and feel free to reach out to us, lpfadvisors.com. We will see you next time. Thanks for attending. Take care. Be well. All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Collin, thanks a lot.
Thank you. Take care.
You've been listening to the Confident Retirement Podcast with Chris and Mark from LPF Advisors. For more information on them and retiring confidently, please visit lpfadvisors.com. If your ears are pleased and your mind is now at ease, do share the program with your friends and subscribe wherever podcasts are found.